I knew something was wrong the moment I walked into the break room that Tuesday morning and saw my mug still sitting on the shelf, untouched since Friday. For 29 years, I'd come in before dawn, grabbed my coffee, traded jokes with Jose from the loading dock, skimmed through the day's schedule pinned to the corkboard, and then headed upstairs to open the plant. But Monday and now Tuesday, my usual routine had been upended. The mug lay cold, the corkboard scrawled over with memos I'd never seen, and the coffee machine gurgled to life in a corner, only to go silent when I hit start. I frowned and checked the time on my phone. 7:02 a.m. good, 2 minutes to spare before the morning meeting. But something inside me was off, like a gear out of place. I could feel it in the way my chest tightened, in the tremor of my hands as I reached for the empty mug. That's when I heard footsteps in the hall. I turned to see Arnold, my department supervisor, striding past the door with 2 HR reps in tow. His tie was too tight, his collar starched. HR never brought 2 people unless it was serious. My heart leapt into my throat. I pressed my palm to the wall and steadied myself. They disappeared around the corner. I swallowed hard, dropping the mug back onto the shelf. At 7:05 on the dot, our official start time, I found my way to the conference room. The chairs were arranged in a semicircle, and at the head sat Mitchell Jennings, our new plant manager. Mitchell was in his mid-40s, slick-haired and shiny, the kind of guy who scanned the factory floor with a permanent frown, like he was searching for faults in the tiles. Next to him stood the HR director, Mrs. Klein, arms folded. "Good morning, everyone," Mitchell said, rubbing his hands. I took my seat at the far end, arm's length from the front. My coworkers trickled in, Lori from quality, Dave from maintenance, even young Eric from IT. But no smiles, no banter, just muted glances. Mitchell cleared his throat. "We have some unfortunate news regarding staffing adjustments across the plant." My stomach cramped. Adjustments meant cuts. For compliance with the corporate realignment, he continued, a small number of positions will be eliminated, effective immediately. He nodded to Mrs. Klein. She handed out envelopes. One by one, envelopes were opened. Erin's, Sandra's, Paula's, each name printed on a folded letter inside. My turn came. I eyed the envelope with trembling hands. 29 years, 3 days before my worked years milestone. 3 days before my pension fully vested. I ripped it open. Inside a short note. "Dear Mr. Martinez, it is with regret we inform you that your position, production lead, is being terminated effective today. Please see HR for your final paperwork." My eyes stung. I looked up. Arnold watched impassively. Mitchell cleared his throat. "We thank you for your service, and wish you well." Well, wish me well after 3 decades, after building this factory with my own 2 hands, after turning out 1,000,000 widgets when they needed ramp up. My pension, 29 years of contributions, dollars and cents and loyalty, gone, poof, just like that. I rose slowly, paper in hand. My knees shook. The room seemed to tilt. Voices rustled around me. What about my successor? I can't believe they did this. Where's my letter? I ignored them, made a beeline for the door. I knew the path down the hall, past the HR suite, to my old office. I would have to clean it out. I would have to meet Mrs. Klein at her desk, and she would walk me through the gross inequity of getting fired days before my pension. My pension that meant rent in retirement, medical coverage before Medicare kicked in, maybe a small boat for summer afternoons. My pension that was not a bonus, but my paycheck's promise after 30 years. And they pulled the plug 3 days short. I reached the corridor, but stopped. Something flared inside me, anger, disbelief, an ember of resolve. I took the envelope and crumpled it in my fist. I walked past HR and into the men's room. Mirrors lined the wall. My reflection looked older, more creases, a fleck of gray in my black hair. I stared until I could catch my breath. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. I dialed a number I hadn't called in years. My pulse pounded, fingers shaking. "Matt, it's me." "Dad?" His voice, soft but incredulous. He'd retired 15 years ago, living on his pension half a state away. "Yeah, it's me. They just fired me 3 days before pension. After 29 years." I held back a surge of bitterness. There was a pause. Then Dad cleared his throat. "Son, I'm so sorry," I exhaled. "Mom's funeral was 6 months ago. After that, I kept this place afloat. Now they kick me out? I worked since I was 18. No breaks." My voice cracked. "I don't know what I'm going to do." Dad's quiet strength filled the line. "Listen, take a moment. Then call me back in an hour. We'll figure it out." I nodded even though he couldn't see. "Okay." I flicked the phone off and leaned against the cold tile. My eyes blurred. 3 days, 30 years. None of it mattered if my pension vanished. I needed to fight. When I left the restroom, I veered right into the production floor. A dozen rows of machines hummed. The air smelled of metal and oil. Workers in orange safety vests paused, some offering consoling nods. I headed to the control room, my old domain. The team supervisor, Carla, blinked at me. Henry, they fired you? I nodded. They did. But I'm not done here. She frowned. What do you mean? I rested my hand on the console. There's something they don't know. She glanced at the dashboard. Metrics, uptime percentages, production yield curves. What? I lowered my voice. They're about to launch the new automation. You said it was stable, but you missed one thing. Apex coding module is miscalibrated. It'll ruin the finish on half the order. And upper management expects a flawless rollout. Carla's eyes widened. That can cost the company millions, and open liability if our biggest client rejects it. I nodded. Exactly. I have the calibration logs saved on my secure drive. I can show you before it's deployed. My heart pounded. This was leverage, something none could ignore. We stop the launch or fix it first. She swallowed. Okay, let's do it. The module's scheduled for 2 p.m. testing. We have 1 hour. I checked my watch, 12:15. I had time to rally my team. Even though I was terminated, my credentials still worked. I hit the console, accessed my old admin account, and pulled the logs. Sure enough, miscalibration by 5% out of spec. I downloaded the data to a thumb drive. Grab your tech lead, I said to Carla, and the QA engineer. I'll brief them in the meeting room. We sprinted down the hall. Word spread. Henry's here. Henry's back. The small group gathered in a glass-walled huddle room, faces flush with surprise. I laid out the problem. If this goes to production, we'll scrap 500 units, lose $250K, and the client will cancel the contract. Get their sign-off on the fix now. Expressions changed from confusion to urgency. We drafted a memo to Mitchell and the board. Critical defect, hold launch for 24 hours to correct calibration. Carla volunteered to deliver it. I watched her leave. By 1 p.m., the memo was acknowledged by email. The company-wide hold was issued. The launch delayed. Engineers reversed the module parameters. Technicians recalibrated the hardware. I stepped back onto the production floor, breathing hard. My former colleagues applauded, small cheers, but enough to echo in my chest. At 1:45, Carla returned. They accepted the hold. Calibration fixed. We can proceed safely by 4 p.m. Relief rippled through us. I nodded. Good work. I tucked the thumb drive in my pocket. This was my calling, my knowledge, my commitment. They couldn't fire my conscience. I walked back to the lobby. HR's door was ajar. Mrs. Klein looked up from her desk. I approached. Henry. She sighed. You're still here. I tilted my head. I'm still here until Streamline deploys successfully. And until my pension vests. Her expression softened. Regret, maybe guilt. I heard about the module. You saved us. I nodded. Then they'll call off the pension termination too. I pulled the letter out of my pocket and showed it. This meaningless without me. She exhaled and took the letter. I'll talk to Fletcher, the new plant owner. They bought Capital Co.'s assets last quarter. Maybe there's a way to negotiate a severance and your pension. I let out a breath. Thank you. I stepped out into the hallway. The office felt alive again. Machines humming, staff moving, urgency replaced by cautious optimism. I glanced at the clock, 2:10 p.m. 3 days until my pension vested at 30 years. And now I had a call to make to Fletcher, the new owner, CEO of Apex Holdings, a tough negotiator, but a man who respected results. I opened my phone and dialed the number I'd scrawled on my palm, 415-867-5309. Fletcher here, said a voice. Mr. Fletcher. This is Henry Martinez. I'm the former production lead at Capital Co. We met at the union meeting last year. I have critical intel on Streamline's deployment and pension matter. I'd like to talk right now. There was a pause. Then Henry. Call my office in 5 minutes. I want details. I ended the call and exhaled. The gears of my fight were in motion. I'd been fired 3 days too soon. But I had the knowledge, the leverage, and a ticking clock. Now, I'd make that call matter more than any letter. The final verse of my career was still unwritten, and I intended to finish it on my terms. I dial Fletcher's office number with deliberate calm, my heart still hammering with the adrenaline of the morning's events. After 2 rings, his voice comes on the line, measured, confident, just like I remember from our brief meeting at the Union Gala last spring. "Henry Martinez," he says. "Pleasure. I've heard good things about your work on Streamline." "That's kind of you to say," I reply. "I have information you need to hear right now before Streamline goes live company-wide. And also about my pension, which vests in 3 days after 29 solid years on the plant floor." There's a pause. Then Fletcher's tone hardens slightly. "All right, I'll send you a secure link. We'll do this over video in 5 minutes. Prepare your data." "Thank you, sir. I'll be ready." I hang up, exhale, and race back up to my old office. I fire up my laptop, plug in the thumb drive containing the calibration logs, and load the spreadsheet I've prepared. The production downtime estimates, the cost of scrapped units if Streamline misfires, and a summary of my 29 years' contributions and pension projections. My hands tremble. This call could determine not only the platform's fate, but my livelihood. 5 minutes later, I click the secure link. Fletcher's face appears in a crisp window, flanked by the CFO and head of engineering. His eyes study me, calm storm. "Henry," he says, "show me." I share my screen. He watches my walkthrough of the calibration error, how a 5% variance in the Apex coding module's flow rate would leave half the deliverables below spec, triggering client rejections, warranty claims, and a ripple of lost orders. I navigate to the chart, showing a predicted $400K loss in Q2 if uncorrected. Then I switch to my pension projection, a timeline illustrating that 3 more days on payroll fully vests my benefits, an obligation the company assumed upon my hire in 1994, long before Apex's acquisition. Fletcher leans forward. "So you're saying you caught this, fixed it, convinced the plant to delay launch, and now you expect me to honor your pension?" I meet his gaze. "Exactly. I stopped a disaster before it happened, and if I'd walked away at 7:10 this morning as planned, the module goes live Tuesday afternoon and the fallout begins Wednesday. You'll be dealing with client lawsuits, warranty recalls, and a devastated plant floor. I'm not letting that happen, because I built the control system. But I will walk out if you don't honor my pension vesting and reinstate my title, at least until fulfillment of the pension promise." The CFO clears his throat. Fletcher's face remains inscrutable. Then he nods once. "You're a tough negotiator, Martinez. I like that. Here's what we'll do. I'll authorize full pension vesting to occur immediately, regardless of your termination. And I want you back as Chief Operations Engineer until the pension hits your account." He glances at the CFO, and after that, I want to discuss a full-time role as Senior Plant Advisor, equity package included. We need your expertise. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. "Thank you, sir. I appreciate it." I log off, hands now steady, heart thudding but pointedly hopeful. Back on the production floor, nearly everyone has heard the news. Martinez is back, pension safe, and Streamline will launch without a hitch. I exchange relieved hugs with Carla, fist bump Eric from IT, and share an exhausted grin with Michael, who whispers, "Good call." By Tuesday morning, Streamline finally goes live, optimized, bulletproof, and running like clockwork. Our client's portal flickers green in the control room, 100% uptime, sub-1 ms response, and 0 defects. Sales burst through their daily targets as customers marvel at the new efficiency. That afternoon, I receive an official notice from HR. My pension account is fully vested as of the end of business on Monday. All paperwork signed, notarized, and recorded. A congratulations email, signed by Fletcher himself. Late afternoon, I pack my badge and laptop into my old backpack, 2 Easter eggs from the day's drama. I head back to the CEO's suite, where Fletcher awaits. "Henry," he says, standing to greet me. "Welcome back, permanently this time. Please join our executive leadership team." He extends a hand to shake. Across the room, the CFO and head of HR beam. I close the distance and shake his hand. "I'm honored. And I appreciate you honoring my pension." My mind drifts to that cold envelope on Monday, then to the control room victory. Let's get to work. That night, I drive home under a sky freckled with stars. Each mile reminds me of the shortcut I took through my own resolve, fighting not only for my career, but for a contract the company had no right to breach. I replay the morning's events, the shock of firing, the restroom vow, the hallway leverage, the phone call with Dad, and finally standing before Fletcher's video feed with logs as my proof. It was the longest ride home in 29 years, and the first time I ever made a call that changed my entire fate. I pull into the driveway, step out, and rub my hands together against the evening chill. As I head upstairs, I find my old coffee mug on the shelf, still waiting for me. I lift it, sniff its stale coffee ring, and chuckle. Tomorrow I'll brew a fresh pot. Tomorrow I'll raise that mug in celebration. But tonight I savor silence, knowing that those 3 days, that single phone call and 29 years of work, secured not just a pension, but a future beyond every expectation. And as I flick off the porch light, I realize some lines of code, some calibrations, some contracts can't undo the value of loyalty. No firing can erase dedication, and sometimes one phone call is all it takes to set everything right.